Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I, 28 female, have been dealing with constant boundary pushing from my stepmother, Diane, 43 female, and my father, 49 male, for years. What happened recently has shattered whatever relationship we had left. And now Diane and my father are blaming me for what they call the destruction of her family. I'll lay everything out for you, Reddit, and you can decide if I went too far. My parents divorced when I was 14, and my dad remarried Diane a little over a year ago. Diane already had 2 kids from her first marriage, Ethan, now 10 male, and Mia, now 8 female. My dad met Diane through a mutual friend, and the two of them hit it off quickly. Diane came across as sweet and loving in the beginning, but as time went on, I realized she could also be manipulative and self-centered, especially when it came to getting her way. My relationship with Diane was never particularly close. I always felt like she saw me as an obligation rather than a part of her new family. But when it came to her kids, she had no problem expecting me to step in as an unpaid babysitter whenever it suited her. She and my dad justified this by saying, "You're so good with Ethan and Mia. They love spending time with you." And while I do love the kids, they're innocent in all of this. It's not my responsibility to take care of them. Over the years, their requests for me to babysit started feeling less like requests and more like demands. It started small, watching the kids for a few hours while Diane and my dad went out for dinner. But it escalated to entire weekends and even holidays. When I moved out at 22, I thought it would put some distance between us and these unreasonable expectations. But I was wrong. My dad has a spare key to my house, in case of emergencies, and they've used it more than once to drop the kids off unannounced. 2 weeks ago, Diane called me and said that she and my dad needed a break from the routine. She told me they had booked a weekend spa getaway and asked if I could watch Ethan and Mia from Friday evening until Sunday night. I was exhausted from work and already had plans to catch up on some overdue projects, so I told her no. I explained that I wouldn't be able to give the kids the attention they needed and that it wasn't a good weekend for me. Diane sounded annoyed, but didn't push the issue further. That Friday, I went to work as usual. When I got home that evening, I was shocked to find Ethan and Mia sitting on my couch watching TV. Diane and my dad had dropped them off without my permission. My dad had used his spare key to let them in. On the counter was a note in Diane's handwriting. "Thanks for helping out. We'll be back Sunday evening. The kids have snacks in their bags." I was furious. First of all, I had explicitly said no. Second, I had work deadlines to meet, and there was no way I could balance that with looking after 2 young kids. And third, it's not my responsibility. They didn't even bother to ask again. They just assumed I'd suck it up and do what they wanted. I tried calling Diane, but she didn't pick up. My dad answered his phone, but when I confronted him, he brushed me off, saying, "It's just for 2 days. You'll be fine. Don't overreact." Overreact? They had essentially dumped their kids on me without any regard for my life or my boundaries. I didn't know what to do at first. Ethan and Mia are sweet kids, and I didn't want to take out my frustrations on them. But I also knew I couldn't let this slide. That's when I remembered Diane's ex-husband, Tom, 45 male. Over the years, Diane had painted Tom as an absent father who didn't care about his kids. She frequently complained about how he was late with child support payments and how she had to do everything on her own. But from what little I'd seen of Tom, he seemed like a decent guy who genuinely cared about Ethan and Mia. I decided to call him. I explained the situation, that Diane and my dad had dropped the kids off at my house without my consent, and that I wasn't in a position to take care of them. Tom was shocked, but immediately concerned. He asked if the kids were okay, and said he'd come pick them up. He arrived within 2 hours, and Ethan and Mia were thrilled to see him. They ran to him with hugs and excitement, which made me wonder just how absent he really was. Tom was polite, but visibly angry as he packed up their things. He thanked me for letting him know and said he'd be following up on this. I didn't think much of it at the time. I was just relieved that the kids were safe and out of my house. When Diane and my dad returned on Sunday evening, they were furious to find the kids gone. Diane called me screaming about how I had no right to involve Tom. She accused me of conspiring with him to make her look like a bad mother, and said I should have just watched the kids like a good daughter would. My dad chimed in, saying I had overreacted and made things worse. I told them that they had no right to dump the kids on me without my consent, and that they'd left me no choice. What I didn't realize was that Tom wasn't just angry. He was ready to take action. Within a week, he filed for custody of Ethan and Mia, citing Diane's negligence for leaving the kids with someone who hadn't agreed to take care of them. He also brought up other examples of Diane prioritizing herself over the kids, including past incidents I hadn't even known about. I was asked to witness in court as well. In the end, Tom was awarded primary custody. Diane lost not only the kids, but also the child support payments she'd been receiving. Now Diane is blaming me for everything. She claims I ruined her life and accuses me of plotting against her with Tom. My dad is equally upset, saying I should have just watched the kids for the weekend and kept things within the family. Even some extended family members have weighed in, saying I went too far and should have handled things differently. From my point of view, I did what I thought was best. Diane and my dad had no business leaving the kids with me without my consent. They've been pushing boundaries for years, and this was the final straw. Ethan and Mia deserve to be with someone who prioritizes their well-being, and if that person is their father, so be it. I don't regret calling Tom, but I do regret how messy things have become. I've lost whatever relationship I had left with Diane, and my dad is barely speaking to me. I'm being painted as the villain in all of this, and it's exhausting. But deep down, I feel like I did the right thing. So, Reddit. Am I the a-hole for calling Diane's ex-husband and effectively contributing to her losing custody of her kids? Diane and OP's dad had completely disrespected OP's boundaries and treated OP like free childcare, as if OP's life and work commitments didn't matter. The fact that they let themselves into OP's house without permission and left their kids there is beyond entitled. It's negligent. Calling Tom was absolutely the right thing to do. It's clear he genuinely cares about his kids, and Diane is just upset because she lost the child support she depended on. She's blaming OP to deflect from her own irresponsibility. OP should not let them guilt trip her. OP stood up for herself and did what was best for Ethan and Mia. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Not the a-hole at all. You didn't ruin Diane's life. She did that herself when she prioritized spa weekends over her children. If she had been a responsible parent, this wouldn't have happened. And your dad? He's just as guilty for enabling her and dumping the kids on you. It's infuriating that they think you should have just gone along with their selfish plan for the family. Calling Tom was the best decision you could have made. He deserves to know when his kids are being neglected. I hope this is a wake-up call for Diane, though I doubt she'll take responsibility for her actions. Absolutely not the a-hole. Let's be clear. Ethan and Mia's well-being is what matters here. Diane and your dad didn't think twice about abandoning them at your house without even asking if you were okay with it. That's not just disrespectful, it's reckless. Tom stepped up when they didn't, and now the kids are with someone who prioritizes them. The fact that Diane is more upset about losing child support than losing custody of her kids says everything about her priorities. You didn't ruin her life, you just exposed her negligence. Good on you for doing what was right, even if it cost you some family relationships. Not the a-hole. Honestly, the audacity of Diane and your dad is mind-blowing. They took advantage of your kindness for years, ignored your boundaries, and then expected you to just suck it up when they dumped their kids on you without warning. Calling Tom was a smart and responsible decision. He clearly loves his kids and was the better parent in this situation. If Diane cared more about her children than her spa weekends, she wouldn't have lost custody. Don't let them make you feel guilty. You didn't destroy Diane's life. She did that all on her own. My 33 female dad told us, me and my siblings, before, that he will contribute a certain amount for our weddings. We don't have to take it, but he'll offer it, and anything more is up to the person getting married to sort out. Dad contributed to my wedding in 2019, as well as my half-sister's a few months ago. My sister Jane, 30 female, she's kind and smart, but also the type of person who's shy and timid around strangers, but can be really hot-headed around people she knows. Jane does tend to be a little selfish at times and holds on to small things. For example, she let go of a really excellent guy she was dating in the past because of some petty things that could have been solved. I'm not saying this to be mean, by the way. Again, she can be kind and caring, but these are the full facts of the situation, and our parents also know of her nature. Jane is engaged to Jack, 35 male, who she's been with for the past couple years. They've sort of been on-off, and it does seem like the engagement is a bit for show. Now, Dad has said that he won't be contributing to Jane and Jack's wedding because of Jane's nature and their unstable relationship, and he doesn't want his money to go to loss. Jane has said before that she and Jack can fund the wedding themselves, so they won't need Dad's contribution. Jane's full into the wedding planning stage, and as stated, Dad didn't offer her monetary. She got upset that he didn't offer, so I told her that she said they wouldn't need it anyway. Jane replied they wouldn't, but she still thought he'd ask because he did for us, me and half-sister. She made an unnecessarily big deal about it. So I told her she knows full well why Dad didn't offer, and she's being petty as per usual. Jane got really mad, and now blocked me on social media, and isn't picking up my calls or messages. Our mom said I went too far. I don't think so, because they weren't going to take the money anyway. But was I the a-hole? You're the a-hole, and so is your dad. Sounds like y'all just don't like the guy she wants to marry. So let me see if I can summarize based on your posts and your responses. Your sister is selfish and hot-headed because 1. She missed a family event to drive a friend to the hospital. 2. She missed a family event to volunteer at a soup kitchen. 3. She got upset that your sister went through her bag and used her lotion without permission. She broke up with an excellent guy and didn't give him a chance because 1. Your sister claimed he cheated on her. 2. She wouldn't take him back when she was dating the guy she's now engaged to. You believe the ex because 1. He's a good guy, and you know better than your sister who was the one dating him. 2. He's your stepmom's colleague's son, and they are nice people. Your sister is on again and off again because 1. The boyfriend who cheated on her, allegedly, tried to slide in and win her back when she was dating her current fiancé, like any stand-up guy would. Your sister was emotionally unstable because 1. Your family swarmed her and tried to convince her to get back together with the stand-up guy who cheated on her, allegedly, and was now trying to ruin her current relationship. You guys don't like her fiancé because 1. He gives your sister the thing she wants. 2. He doesn't interact as much with the family that actively tried to sabotage his relationship. 3. He takes your sister's side and supports her. Did I miss anything else? You're the a-hole. You're condescending toward your sister, dismissing her as petty. Sounds like she's doing her own thing, and people resent her for not doing what she is told or expected to do. Your dad is also the a-hole for treating his kids so differently. If his marriage success prediction is the basis for giving a gift, that should have been clear to all kids. Imagine, though, how Sis feels, her dad, and you, don't trust her decision, judge her choices, and then make her pay for them by being singled out of the family. Even the half-kids get full treatment. She cut you out for her own mental health. Respect that. In UK, so we have student finance who pay tuition and provide maintenance loans. The maintenance is usually based off your parents' income, and you only repay the total loan when you can earn a certain amount. My parents are my bio mother and stepdad. My 22 female younger sisters are my full 18 and step 18 sisters. When I was about 10, my nan passed and left me and my sisters about 10 grand between us. Our parents split the amount evenly into 3 trust funds, which they then began to pay into with their own money. At 18, they gave me the check for the full amount of my fund, around 9 grand, and I put it in savings and began paying into it myself. Within a few months of this, I found out I was pregnant. I married my boyfriend, the father, and moved in with him. I sat my A-levels when I was around 5 months along. My parents were firmly against this every step of the way, with good reason to be honest. But 18-year-old me was nothing if not stubborn, so they got nowhere with me using common sense. My ex and I barely made it a year before we divorced. Despite pushing uni back, I still wanted to go, so I kept contributing to my uni fund. I did have to use some of it, but currently it contains just over 13 grand. My son is currently 3 and will be starting primary school in September 2021. I still intend to put it to uni, and my current plan is to begin uni in September 2022. And now the title dilemma comes in. Step and Full just got their checks. It's a little less than mine was. They each got about 7 grand, and they're both attending uni this September. They've both accepted offers, and they found out they're getting the minimum maintenance loan, about 3 grand a year, due to our parents' income. They both had summer jobs lined up, but those are no longer happening. Our parents can't afford to help them out financially. I was on a call with my parents the other day when they said that Step and Fool are going to uni at the end of summer, and neither of them have as much money as they were hoping. My parents are concerned they won't be able to get jobs immediately, given the circumstances at hand, and they wanted to know if I could give each sister $5,000 to make sure they got through first year. Their reasoning is that I'm not going to uni for another couple years and have a job, so I have time to rebuild my savings. Plus, I'll get the full maintenance loan, as it's based off my income, not theirs. However, if I give them this money, they wouldn't be paying me back, and I wouldn't be able to get my fund back to where it is now in the 2 years until I go to uni. So I said no. It's been a couple days, and my parents have been messaging me nonstop, begging me to reconsider, reminding me that part of my fund is their money and that they've never asked me for money before this, and saying that they're only asking because Step and Fool are going to uni in 4 months and don't have the time or ability to raise more money for them. And I can't help feeling guilty, as the amount we each got was a combination of my parents' efforts and sheer luck, and my sisters are going to struggle without my help. Am I the a-hole? Info. They did also contribute to Step and Fool's respective funds at about the same rate they did mine. It's just that with trust funds, they were all being invested in different things, and mine was pulled out 4 years ago when the economy was presumably better. But the same amount of money went into all 3 funds. Mine just happened to end up with more, and then I've spent the last few years adding to it when I can. Info. Don't want to give details, but my job is currently thriving. I've been doing 80 hours a week while my son is with his father at a higher rate of pay than usual, so I shouldn't be struggling for money as long as the current circumstances endure. And in normal circumstances, I have periods like this through the year where I do extra hours at extra pay, and then everything settles down for a while until the next one. One sister is doing medicine. The other is doing something else within STEM. Both are hoping to go to Russell Group, like Ivy League universities, depending on their grades, so they'll be on very high-intensity courses. Not the a-hole. That's your money, and you have a baby to consider. Please keep that money to yourself. Not the a-hole. Also, you say your original payout was $9,000, and your parents are asking for $5,000 to each sister. They want you to give your sisters more money than you even received in the first place. Not the a-hole. Absolutely not. Funding is the responsibility of your sisters and parents, and I am sure they know it. You need the money, if not for your education, for yourself and your son. Your sisters will be fine. There are support, etc. available. Worst case scenario, they have to consider universities in a city with a low cost of living. I, 30 female, am a single mom of 2 boys, aged 7. Their dad died 5 years ago, and it's just been us since then. We couldn't afford our house anymore, so brother-in-law took us in. Now, 5 years later, I finally got the insurance money from my husband's policy. His death was suspicious, so it took a long time to sort it out. And it's enough money for me and the boys to afford our own apartment. And since the boys are in school, I also got a job. Things really turned around for us, and we moved to our own place. It's not much, but we each have our own room, and it's a place we can call our own, which I absolutely love. To the issue at hand, my brother-in-law just asked me to contribute to his wedding, now that I have some more money. His fiancée says I should pay for part of their wedding. My part would be somewhere between $40,000 and $50,000. I told them I do have money now, but I'm starting college funds for the boys, finally making bigger payments for better health insurance. The boys can now pick their hobbies, etc. I told my brother-in-law I'm willing to give him about $5,000 for the wedding, or pay for their honeymoon in that value, because he has really been kind and generous to me. But the amount his fiancée is asking for is just too much, and I feel it will be better spent on my children. Brother-in-law said he agrees with me, but fiancée called me an ungrateful bee and said it's the least I can do to repay them. Am I the a-hole for not helping them with the money for the wedding? What? Contribute between $40,000 and $50,000? Like that's not all of it? Absolutely insane. Anyway, not the a-hole. Them helping you out was not conditional on any reimbursement. They were able to and did so. Your money is better spent on your boys. I'm pretty sure your late husband would agree. Bro, how much do they intend to spend on a wedding when your part is supposed to be $50,000? Not the a-hole. Fiancé and brother-in-law are delusional if they think it's fair to ask for $50,000 for a wedding. Not the a-hole at all, and even your brother-in-law can see that. That's ridiculous money for a wedding, especially when you have 2 sons to raise and provide for on one salary. Like if it was helping with medical bills, mortgage, down payment, or debt for brother-in-law, or helping with his child's college fund, maybe I would suggest helping out a small bit. But a wedding? That future sister-in-law can get lost. She has no idea of what can happen in the real world, unlike both you and your brother-in-law. A little backstory. My sister-in-law has been coddled her whole life, and as a result, as an adult, is extremely self-centered. Her parents still spoil her, the baby and the only girl, and she is 31 years old. In her world, it's all about her, but in my mother-in-law and father-in-law's world, it's all about her too. Despite being hurt many times in the past because of this behavior, we've gotten closer when my husband and I moved away from the area. She checked in on us regularly, which I really appreciated, and I reciprocated. We often talked about the things she was going through. Most of these conversations centered around her rocky relationships. She got engaged while we were away. When we moved back, she asked me to be her bridesmaid. She did so in a big room full of people, and I felt obligated to say yes. But I did also feel very touched that she asked me to be her bridesmaid. Until, inevitably, the same old self-centered behavior crept back in. This is her second wedding, but she expected that her bridesmaids throw a huge bachelorette, and she is having 2 showers. I contributed financially to the bachelorette, but was unable to attend because I got sick shortly before. Her other bridesmaids are starting to get a little sick of the extravagance of the whole thing and all the events they are expected to attend. So this brings me to the question at hand. Her and my mother-in-law planned her bridal shower on the day of my husband and I's wedding anniversary. They didn't ask us how we felt about it, just informed us and invited us to the Facebook group. I believe this was because it was to accommodate her maid of honor being there. My husband and I strongly feel that we should spend the day celebrating our own marriage rather than her upcoming nuptials. But when I quickly let my mother-in-law know that we would have anniversary plans, she acted disappointed and has been short about it. It turns out that between my husband and my schedule, this is the only weekend we will be able to do anything in the next few weeks. Now, the maid of honor has family obligations and might not be able to make it to the bridal shower, and my sister-in-law is getting upset. Am I the a-hole for sticking to my guns about not attending? Or am I possibly being stubborn and selfish about prioritizing my own wants over her expectations and my role as bridesmaid? Not the a-hole. Friendly reminder that participation is not a social obligation, but a courtesy that is not to be taken for granted. If she is too entitled to grasp the concept, her problem. Not the a-hole. Stick to your guns about celebrating your own anniversary. If you do go to her shower, her and her side of the family will continually schedule stuff on important days for you and your husband in the future. I feel like this is one of those things where your willingness to make the sacrifice is directly related to your feelings about the person asking. If a close friend or family member of mine scheduled their shower on my anniversary weekend, I'd probably reschedule the anniversary and make it work. But if it was someone I wasn't particularly close with, and who I was already annoyed with due to being asked to go above and beyond, I'd probably resent being asked to do one more thing. So, not the a-hole. Your sister-in-law is dealing with the consequences of how she treats people. When you are too demanding, then people become less willing to give up things or make accommodations for you. My wife and I have 3 kids, 36 male, 32 female, and 25 female. We have had agreements with all of our kids that we would help pay for up to $10,000 for their weddings, or use that same amount towards a down payment on their first home. Both of our oldest kids picked the down payment option. They both got married and had medium-sized weddings, both under 100 guests. They paid for the majority of their weddings themselves, but we did pitch in maybe $1 or $2K to each of them to help a bit. My youngest got engaged last year and started planning her wedding, which was scheduled for this October. She told us she would like us to help pay for the wedding instead of a house, since both her and her fiancé are more comfortable with apartment living and don't want to put roots down anywhere since they are both young. She had us put deposits down for a venue, caterer, photographer, and a DJ. These deposits totaled over $5K and were non-refundable. About 2 months ago, my daughter called to tell us that she and her fiancé had decided to cancel their wedding and get married at a courthouse. She said that the wedding planning was too stressful and they would rather just get married legally and spend money on a big honeymoon instead. She said she wants us to take the rest of what we would have paid for the wedding and put it towards their honeymoon instead. She said they want to take an extra long honeymoon, like 2 to 3 months of travel to multiple destinations. I told her that we would not be contributing money to that. I explained that by canceling their wedding, we have lost out on thousands of dollars and got nothing out of it due to non-refundable deposits. Mind you, we never questioned any of their choices regarding wedding planning and were not involved in any of the decision-making. I literally just wrote checks to vendors. My daughter is upset and accusing me of playing favorites with her older siblings and for punishing her because she wants something different for herself. I told her that the situations are not the same and that giving her thousands of dollars for her to bum around Europe and Asia for a few months was never something I agreed to. My wife wants to give our daughter a few thousand to try and even things out, but I am firmly against this. The way I look at it, we already gave her thousands of dollars and she decided to literally throw all of that money away. I understand wedding planning is stressful, and if they want a courthouse wedding, that is their choice. But it also wasn't their money that they lost by canceling the wedding. It was ours. My daughter thinks I'm being an a-hole about this, and my wife wants to just give her money to keep the peace. But I feel like that just completely absolves our daughter of what her decisions have cost us. I don't want to pay for her wanderlust after she cost me thousands of dollars. Not the a-hole, but I would encourage you and your wife to inform them that the remaining balance of the money is available to help contribute to a down payment on a home at a future date. This way, you are not playing favorites. You are not punishing her for changing her mind about the kind of wedding she wants, and you are still only using the money for purposes you are comfortable contributing to. Not the a-hole. She wasted $5,000. No way in hell I'd give her more money. Not the a-hole. Throwing away your money was an a-hole move, and I wouldn't give her more personally. If she had asked for the money for a honeymoon up front because she wanted to do a courthouse wedding instead, then that's one thing. But to be so disrespectful with your gift and then ask for more, that's just incredibly entitled.